All right, in this tutorial, I'm picking up where we left off. We brought in our columns, our weapons, our weapon racks, and our arches, right? So part of bringing in our arches was bringing in our tiling textures, the same ones that we may be using on our modular room and corridor pieces. I'm going to show you something. If you come down here to view options and go into thumbnail edit mode, there's a little icon in the corner, and if you click on it, you can change how they're displayed, which is kind of cool. So if you want to see your materials as cubes, you can, and you can click and move around in there. That'll change it. You can have it be on just a plane if that's what you want. It's really however you want to display it. I would just kind of show you that is there, and we say done editing, and then of course we dirtied those files by changing that, so we have to save them. So at this point, I'm going to jump over here to 3ds Max. I have my modular corridor set, and everything has been modeled. If I select my straight piece here and go to modify, well, it's not, I don't want to actually, I want to look at my corner. Yeah, okay. So here on my corner, there's my unwrapped UVW. So everything is modeled, everything has light maps, everything is named appropriately, all right? So when you go to export, there's a number of different ways you could do it. If you wanted, you could go through and select your elements individually. And by that, I mean, here's my straight hallway. So I select that mesh as well as the pieces that make up its collision. And I can say File, Export Selected. And then if I go to that same folder and just type in all straight and hit save, double check my preferences here, smoothing groups, turbo smooth. All right, this is all good, hit OK. And now I exported that out, right? I could hide that and then I can move on to the next one, right? You could also, it is okay if you just grab everything and you just say File, Export Selected, and then give it a simple name like All Set or All Kit, and hit save. So if you want, you could go through and do them individually and keep them organized that way, or you could do them as a larger group. All right, it's I've done it both. I've exported them out both individually as groups. I've had tools that the companies I've worked for, I actually went into Unreal and hit the import button, and everything that was visible inside the scene was just imported, right? So there's all sorts of ways you can go about it, right? So whether you export them all out as one or do them all individually, it's perfectly fine, up to you. I'm going to come here back to the editor, and in this same folder that I have my arch and its materials in, I'm just going to click import, and I want to find that Hall kit and say open, and everything should be set correctly. I want to make sure generate light map UVs is off, combine meshes is off, do not create materials, and do not import textures. That's good. So I just hit import. There you go, that brought in all my pieces. If I double click on one of them to open it, the mesh viewer's here. If I come up to collision and I click simple collision, you'll see there's my collision geometry, so that's in, that's working. I can turn that off, and then if I just grab, I'll hover here to get the cursor, I can now start assigning materials. And to figure out where you assign, you click highlight, and that'll highlight the mesh, right? And so that would be my brick, right? And this would be my floor. So I actually have one more texture set for my floor, so I'm going to go ahead and hit import, and then in that same folder is this floor element. So I'm going to import that, and then I'm just going to duplicate one of these, and we'll call it mi underscore. I'm just going to call it floor. Open that up and do the material override on that base color and hit save. All right, so now I can assign that floor on there, and then we have the roof, which is going to be the wood, and then we have our trim texture, which will we'll assign that as well. All right. So then you'll open up each one of the pieces and you'll go through it. So if I hold Control, select multiples, I can then just hit Enter and it'll open all 4 of them, and I can just go through and start assigning the materials. And don't worry if you assign the wrong one. You can always either just hit the little reset to default, or just go ahead and just assign the correct one then after the fact. All right. Now, because we imported our objects, oh boy, look at this guy only has 1 material ID. All right, so we'll have to go back and we'll have to fix him. Let's take a look at the rest. All right, so it looks like most of the rest of these guys should be okay. Let's go ahead and get them in here. Save. And let's go to our last one. So it looks like only the cap came in wrong, right? And most likely it's because we didn't assign a material to it, or we didn't assign the full material to it. So let's go ahead and close that. Let's save all these. And we'll go back to the editor, and let's select that cap piece. Open up our material editor, and just right click, assign material to selection, and then we'll just grab everything again. Say File, Export Selected. It's my haul kit. I'm going to overwrite the exact same. I'm going to overwrite that file, and then when it's done, come back here to Unreal, and then all I need to do is just go to the one and right click and re-import, and there you go. See, now it's saying, okay, there's the texture, right? Currently it only has 1 ID. It looks like it should have 4, and so we want to say reset to what the FBX is. So now we can open that up, and we can start assigning the correct materials to the correct locations in the material slots. There we go. Right, so if anything is wrong with any of them, just go in, make the change, fix it, export them out, and then re-import. And you only need to re-import the one though. You don't have to select them all and re-import it. All right, so now we have our pieces. They're here. Let's go ahead and bring them in. For starters, when you go to bring objects in, make sure you turn on the grid and make sure you set it to 100. Right? We built our objects on a grid, and so we should be bringing them in on the grid. So if I bring it in, it's going to snap a little low. So let's go ahead and raise that up. All right, there it is. So, and if we want, we could set it to like 50 and lower it down so it's closer to the floor. So now I have this one piece here, and I'm just going to hold Alt and drag the cursor over, and that clones it. So now I'm going to grab the 3-way intersection and do the override, and then I'm going to come in and hold the Alt key and drag it over. And see, I have it set to 100 because everything should be snapping together. If you find your pieces are not snapping together, contact me immediately and let's take a look at it and try and figure it out, right? Because the goal is that everything should be snapping nicely on the grid. And we're testing that out at this point. I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna turn on my angle snap for my rotate at 45 degrees. I'm gonna bring these pieces over. You can hold Alt while performing a rotate, and that'll rotate them. It'll clone it while you rotate it. Let's move this piece over here, and I'm going to hold Alt and copy him. I'm actually going to replace this with that 3-way intersection again. Oops, where is he going? There he is. The cursor likes to blend in with the background there. And look, maybe I'll just drag this piece over here. And go ahead and rotate this one again. Move it over. Oops. And then let's copy and paste. I did Control-C, Control-V, and then I'm going to do an override. And then I'm going to drop a 4-way intersection in there. So basically, what I'm doing at this point is just testing out all my pieces to make sure that they all work. All right? That's all I'm doing here. And so copy and paste this, and let's put another corner in. And rotate it around. Hold Alt to rotate it again. There we go. So we have a nice, simple little space here that we could come and move our cursor around inside of, right? We've tested out all our pieces except for the straight piece. So let's go ahead and we'll override this with a four-way intersection and then copy paste, and then we'll just put the cap in there. Spacebar will toggle between the different transform tools. I'm going to just move my arch out of the way. Okay, so there you go. Now I have all my pieces here, right? And so I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Now if I hit play, I should be able to come over here and my guy will step up inside here, and I should be able to walk around inside. The camera will hit your collision and it'll kind of move around. But the goal here is just to test out the pieces, make sure they work, right? And a big part of it, probably the biggest part of it, is just making sure that you're working on the grid at 100 units so everything is snapping into place, and that you have angle snap on for your rotation, right? That's the key part of the process. Now, over here, this is my demo for when I was showing off lighting with jack-o'-lanterns, and so I had to put geometry to block out the sun, right? And so as you can see, the sun is coming through the ceiling. So let's grab this floor. I'm going to hold Alt and just drag that up into the sky. And we'll move it over a little bit. And really, we just want it casting a shadow on our interior here. And I'm going to hit Save All. And let's go out to Build. I'm going to set my lighting quality to Preview, which is the default. And I'm going to hit Build. And that'll go ahead, and that's going to build lighting for my scene. Right? It should go pretty quick. I only have a couple lights, and you'll see that, all right, so inside my corridors, it's totally black, right? It's completely dark. So if we come in here and go unlit, right, we can see what it looks like with no lighting. I'm going to come over here to the place actors. You may have to go Window, place actors to get that to pop up. And you want to type in point. You want to find a point light, which you can drag in, at which time I'm going to turn off my snap. And you just want to take this light and move it over here inside of your environment. And I'm going to set this to, I'm going to leave it at stationary. I'm going to hold Alt and drag. I'm going to bring in a second one. And now when I change it back to lit, now you see there's some light here. Right? Now you're going to be limited in how many lights you can have. If you have too many lights when they're set to stationary, you can only have 6 of them with these radius going around them overlapping. But now if I hit build, it's going to build my lights, my lighting. So when I made my pieces, each of them was made so that they have light maps, and so everything should show up okay. All right, so everything looks to be all right. Yep. You may notice little, it may be noticeable where the seams are in between pieces. Don't worry about that. We're going to build something to kind of hide that, right? We're going to build a little door frame and a framing piece to sit in between our different elements. But what I'd like you to do is go ahead, bring these in, build me a tiny little space, and give me a snip that shows me the little area you've built, as well as I want to see your pieces inside of the content browser. And that's it. That's importing your modular corridor set into the editor. Now, as you start to build other components, you'll want to import those and bring those in as well.